Hi, I'm Rhea,
And I'm Brandon.
and you're watching.
More love with R&B.
And today we are going to talk about, maybe it's a sensitive topic, but it's something that's very serious that we feel affects a lot of marriages.
Yes, and that topic is anger and depression in men. So the topic that we're going to talk about today as it pertains to anger and depression in men can be a little bit sensitive, and sometimes it makes men want to kind of, oh, I don't deal with that. And the reality is, statistics show that all men deal with one or the other, and for the most part, both.
Yeah.
So we'll start off like this. I'll say this. We were at a marriage conference, and someone talked about this, and they literally just kind of. You ever had something where someone mentions something and they just kind of whisk over it, but it hits you, and you're like, whoa! Like, I need to sit in that for a second. And so they talked about how anger and depression are the two most prevalent emotions in men. And I was just sitting there like, do I deal with anger? Do I deal with depression? And so then I could say, you know what? I could try to answer those and kind of go like, nah, I don't deal. I don't think I deal with it like that. Or I could say depression. Do I get depression? I get down, but I don't get down like that. Yeah. Or I could say, hey babe, do I deal with anger?
Yeah.
Or I can say, do you think I struggle with depression?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think the biggest thing is that a lot of times men don't do a lot of inward soul searching for understanding of who they are.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact of us being men. We're designed to be pursuers. We're designed to be observers. We're designed to be go-getters and I see a woman, oh, I like this woman, I want to be with this woman. What does she like? What does she need? Who is she? How can I help? How can I be her superhero? How can I do all these things? And through culture, through society, through whatever, we kind of neglect that we also are human beings with feelings and emotions and wants and needs and desires. We kind of put all that stuff to the side because we're pursuers.
And not just that, right along those lines, because of society, a lot of men don't like to deal with their emotions. So they see depression as a weakness. They see anger as a weakness. Oh, I'm not gonna let nobody get under my collar. I'm not gonna let nobody get me flustered until it's too much. They bottle it in. They make it feel like, oh, I'm good. I'm in control of all these situations, instead of admitting I'm sad, or this is bothering me, or this is upsetting me, until they explode.
Yeah, and I think a lot of men. So on the flip side of depression, from an anger standpoint, there's suppression. And just like she was saying, there's a lot of times that men are not honest about where they are, so they suppress. And they say, you know what? I am not dealing with this today. I can't. It's just too much. And men carry a lot on their shoulder. Let's just be honest, especially married men. Men in general, but married men carry a lot on their shoulders. And so it's very easy to have to feel like you have to suppress a lot of emotions because you feel like you have to be the strong one for the family and the rock and all that kind of good stuff. But the fact is you're still a human that feels things. And so the more you suppress that, pause. I know for a fact that my wife, if I were to ask her, do you feel like I suppress things? What would you say?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because one of the things that I've started to kind of observe about myself is that I find myself when I do get angry, it's not like a gradual thing. It's boom, I'm mad, angry with a quicks. And I'm starting to see that in myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. I don't know if I even get annoyed anymore. I just go right to anger. And and it's funny because I started to observe myself, and I'm like, okay, I think it's just me or whatever. But then I start noticing, and a lot of my friends that are married men that have kids, anger goes boom, right then and there.
Yeah.
Would you say it works out that way sometimes?
Absolutely, and I feel as though, again, it's because they feel this weight and they feel like they're supposed to bear it all instead of sharing with their spouses. When things start to get a little overwhelming, they don't want to talk about it because it's a sign of weakness. If they're feeling stress on the job, they just come home and they bear that stress, and they don't say, hey babe, when the kids go to bed, I really want to talk to you about this job situation. I don't know what to do. My boss is riding me, or I have these projects coming up and I'm overwhelmed. Like, they don't want to get it out. And so they suppress it. And then again, if they're feeling stressed at work, instead of either talking to their bosses about it, right, you know, like going to the source, they bring their anger home.
Yes.
To, you know, because home is a safe space. And so when they get home, they're like, okay, well, I couldn't yell at my boss, so I'm going to yell at my wife and my kids because I need to get this out, instead of rightly dealing with this.
Yeah, and men don't even look at it like that, but that's pretty much what's happening.
Absolutely, and it affects your wives. I know every single time Brandon is holding something in. I don't care how small it is. I mean, we went to breakfast today, and I'm like, hey babe, you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. Are you? Are you okay?
I'm fine.
And after a tiny bit of digging, he shared that he had an unspoken expectation, and he realized that it wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
It wasn't that big of a deal to him, but there was a shift that I felt.
Right.
And it started affecting our communication, because I know that there's something wrong, but he's not telling me. He's suppressing it. And the more you suppress things, the more it starts to weigh, not just on you, but on the whole family. And it's not healthy.
Yeah, another thing, again, that we're talking about is depression. And I'll be honest, like, I never even thought about the fact that it was even possible for me to struggle with depression. Like, feeling really, really, really down.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was something that you just see in the movies where it's like, oh, I struggle with depression and I need some medicine. It's like, I don't deal with it. But the reality is, a lot of men struggle with depression. There's men who struggle with depression and don't even know that that's what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
And so I really want to encourage the men out there, talk to your wife. Don't even listen to this video. If you think we're tripping, that's fine. Talk to your wife and ask these specific questions. Do you feel like I get angry too fast? Do you feel like I struggle with depression? Do you feel like, ask these questions. Like, it's always good to get another person, specifically your spouse's perspective on your emotional stability.
Yeah.
Because that affects you and it affects your family. So you definitely want to be honest with yourself and ask your spouse about these specific things.
Absolutely. A lot of men take for granted that, like Brandon was saying, that they can get depressed or angry because it's so emotional. And so women, you know, you tend to see women overly expressing those emotions. You'll see women walking around, oh my God, I'm so depressed, you know, or anger, like especially like the stereotype of angry black woman or whatever, because women, they feel their emotions, and a lot of times women they will express themselves, where men see that as a weakness and they don't. And it can not only affect your relationship, it can affect your health. And so for the sake of just yourselves, but as well as the sanity and safety and stability of your home, you need to really do some self-evaluation and say, what am I holding in? What am I dealing with that I'm not aware of? And if it's hard for you to figure that out, ask those that are around you. Ask your spouse or ask your girlfriends. If you're not dating but you're wanting to date, you're wanting to get married, ask your family and your close buddies, like, hey, do you see me as somebody who is depressed, who's always sad and melancholy? Am I the type of person that is always angry, or I get angry at the drop of a hat? Because if you're wanting to get married, you should check that before you get married.
Right, that's a red flag. And we talked about red flags before. Red flags don't necessarily mean don't get married. They mean this other person needs to know about it before they tie down to you.
Yeah, and you need to start doing something about it.
Right. So just to be very encouraging to you guys, this is not something that we want to bring you down. We want this to actually encourage you to have this open communication with your spouse. So men, I want to encourage you to go talk to your wives and get their perspective on emotional stability, and ask them about anger and ask them about depression. Yeah,
and find ways that you can deal with it, even if it's just talking to your spouse, or maybe you need to take it a step further and talk to someone else. But that's the best thing that you can do for yourself and for your family. So we hope you like this video.
If you did, give it a thumbs up.
Yep. And also, if you haven't already, please subscribe and leave leave a comment in the comment section below if this is something that you've noticed about yourself and the ways that you deal with your anger and your depression. It might help somebody else.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye.